hats off to Big Jim for helping us do that. I think 21 days later in Champaign, Illinois, is when we had the first Farm Aid.
Willie, I know you don't like talking about yourself, but people that know you know what a kind, gentle, real person. I've talked to a lot of celebrities who've met you and know you or are friends with you over the years, and they say Willie Nelson is the most down-to-earth, real person that you'll find. Fame and fortune and being a global icon, there aren't many, and you're one of them, not just of music, but just of culture, period, changes a lot of people. And I mean, you have so many people who I wouldn't even call fans. They just really appreciate who you are and love who you are. I mean, talk about yourself a little bit. Growing up and your metamorphosis, I mean, were you always this centered, always this calm? You know, you're somebody who, wrote a whole bunch of the famous Patsy Cline songs and songs that Elvis and everybody else sung and would sell them for $25, $50. You've been a radio talk show host, DJ. You didn't get, though you had all those huge accomplishments, the real fame until the 70s, and then it's just built from there. I mean, was it the fact that fame came later in life that helped you stay centered and not have it go to your head? I mean, that's a lot there I threw out, but I'm for folks out there trying to understand, the person Willie Nelson and so many people that have you as a role model. How did you grow? What's the core of Willie Nelson, and what advice would you give people about philosophy of life?
Well, first of all, I come from Abbott, Texas, a little farm and ranch town, and I found out real early that farming was hard, ranching was a little easier. So that was one of the first lessons that I learned. And I also learned by hanging out with the farmers and ranchers and local folks there in Abbott that a town survived by taking care of itself, and the farmers were the ones who sustained us. They grew our cotton and corn, and I learned a lot from the guys who grew things. And throughout the years, I think I can say that I owe a lot to Abbott and the education that I got just growing up there.
But continuing through your life, what was it like seeing song after song you wrote being number one hits, and the fact that that's true that you sold one of Patsy Cline's biggest hits for $50, or was it $100? No,
actually, when I started out writing poems when I was 5 or 6 years old, and then I learned to play guitar. My grandparents raised me, and I learned, and me and my sister learned music real early. I would learn a lot from her, but I would play the guitar and write songs. And then I was working on the farm. I was making very little money. I was baling hay, picking cotton. And on Saturdays, I'd go down and shine shoes at the barber shop, and also had my guitar there, so I'd sing them a song. So I started out playing. So music has always been a big part of what I did. And it still is.
Didn't your grandmother order a self-taught catalog or book on guitar playing through the mail, and that basically you were somewhat self-taught?
Pretty much. I learned a few chords, and by playing with Sister Bobby, I would sit on the piano stool next to her, and she would play as she read the music, and I would learn the chords that way. I do know that, I was making a couple of dollars a day picking cotton, and one night I went out with the Raycheck band, and I made $8 playing the guitar. So that was my first big success story.
Now, is it true that you got on the radio when you were 13 years old?
Yeah, on KHBR Hillsboro, me and my sister and her husband at the time, and my football coach who played trombone, we had a radio show up there on Saturdays. That's
amazing, Willie. I think it's safe to say you've probably lived one of already, and so much more ahead of you, a full life.
Well, yeah. I think you could easily say that.
You know, there's that song that Johnny Cash and others have sung, "I've Been Everywhere, Man." Do you think you've probably even been more places than Johnny Cash?
Well, I don't know about that, but that's what we do. We travel, and we've been to most places once, and a lot of them several times.
What's your favorite venue to play? Do you have one?
Honestly, yeah, I do. There is a place in Morrison, Colorado, Red Rocks Amphitheater. It's an incredible place to play. And then naturally after that, been places around Austin through the years that I love, mainly because of the crowds. But as far as venues are concerned, Red Rocks Amphitheater, I think, is the best one.
Willie, when did you move to Austin?
I had been coming here for years, playing music, and my sister had moved here, and I had planned on, this is way back there, come to think of it, when we were going to get an apartment in Houston or buy a condo or something, and then I drove up to Austin to visit with my sister, and that's when I decided that this was really the place where I wanted to be. But the year had to be, 75, I guess.
Boy, I tell you, and Willie Nelson and Austin sure went together well, didn't they?
Oh, it was, yeah. The university is here. Darrell Royal is here. Joe Jamel come up a lot, and we just had a lot of fun just listening to the music and going to football games. And those were great times back in Austin in those days.
Amazing. My grandparents, of course, lived in Austin. We'd come down here and visit from Dallas when I was a little kid, and then I moved here in high school. And I remember always telling my parents, "I want to live in Austin. I want to live in Austin." It's a lot. I'm not bashing Dallas. It's just Austin is such a great place. Boy, it sure has grown, hasn't it, Willie?
Yeah, it has. Out here where I live, it's amazing how it's built up out here.
Well, look at the backyard. I mean, that used to overlook the hills, and now there's a big shopping mall around it.
That's right. That's right. I guess that's one of the reasons that they're having to move.
Well, it's a historic final event at the backyard. I'm told Tim is sad about that, but I guess all good things, as my grandma used to say, unfortunately come to an end. But there'll be a new one.
Tim is a soldier, and he likes to. What good is a soldier without a good war? So Tim likes to get out there and mix it up with the folks. I guarantee you, he'll come out on top on this one. He'll have him another spot over there that's just as good. Absolutely.
In fact, bigger and just as pretty there in the hills. Willie, I want to get into some serious issues in the last 15 minutes or so that we've got left with you. But right now, again, I know you don't like talking about yourself, but people want to hear from you and they want to hear about you. You are prolific. You're just into all sorts of businesses and charities and events and causes, and are just so accessible for somebody of your highest caliber in the culture. You've written quite a few books, and you wrote The Tao of Willie with a great guy who I've gotten to know separately through some movies I've been in with him. That's Turk Pipkin. And then he wrote The Tao of Willie with you about your philosophy that we were just getting into earlier that really gets into that. But you've got a new book out. You've done a fiction book. Tell us about A Tale of Luck, or A Tale Out of Luck.
Well, honestly, there's a writer. His name is Mike Blakely. He's a great guy from Texas and writes a lot of good Western lore, and is a real cowboy and knows the lingo. When they asked me to write this book called Tales Out of Luck, and they had in mind the book and then a movie and et cetera. And I know my qualifications, so I was glad Mike Blakely was here. I gave him some ideas, and we talked, and he went away and wrote the book. And so we have to give him all the credit.
Well, it's been getting great reviews. Tell folks about the basic storyline for people that might want to read it.
Well, the basic is, it's pretty much like real life. It's about a guy who has a bunch of horses, and there's I think the difference is that when the stories, there's Indians involved and a few thieves and crooks. And so it's a well-written story, and even just the way it starts out, once you get into the first chapter, you know this is going to be a book.
Willie, shifting gears into some really serious issues we're dealing with, because last time you were bringing it up on your own, and then I kind of glazed over and moved on to the next question. You've seen my film Terror Storm. You've seen my film Endgame for Blueprint for Global Enslavement, dealing with the Bilderberg Group and the global elite. And of course, over the years, you told me you'd seen some of my TV shows and heard the radio show. Overall, positively waking up and getting communities involved and decentralizing. If we can be local and have local control, that will short-circuit these internationalists. But a big part of the solution is identifying them.